How's it going, everybody? This is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. We have an absolutely jam-packed podcast episode for you today, full of great information. And with the amount of ground that we're going to cover today, this may very well be a podcast that you listen to more than one time. And that is due to the creativity and the technical know-how of my special guest today, Peggy Julicher. Peggy is an excellent realtor based out of our Malvern office. She's been in the industry over 30 years now, and she is also our regional tech trainer for the main line. With Peggy's help, we are going to cover two topics today. Number one, best marketing tips to employ in your business right now. And number two, segueing those marketing tips into hosting the ultimate open house. I guarantee you're going to take something away from this podcast today, so let's get right into it with Peggy, and we'll pick it up on the other side. So Peggy, how you doing today? I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you, Jason. I'm excited to be here too. I love talking all things real estate, so I'm ready for you. I'm ready to share what I know, and through all my experience, I've seen a lot through trial and error, and I just love to share all that.
Obviously, you bring a wealth of experience and knowledge with you. You are a trainer. You see what's out there. You see what's happening in the marketplace, and you're giving us some great advice along the way today. And I got to tell you, this is our busy time of year, right? So we all have to be on top of our game right now in terms of our marketing, in terms of doing business and trying to get business for the future. This is our go time. So since we're talking about best marketing tips, what are a few programs that you personally like to use to best market yourself to the masses right now?
So I use a lot of different things. I will try just about anything once. And if it seems to work and it sticks, then I go with it. I'm of medium age, so I don't have the younger background of getting started with technology. I am late to the party, but I'm definitely here to play. So when it comes to some of these tools, some of the things that I like are just even your simple iPhone. I've heard people talk about different technology tools, a boomstick, certain mic cameras and things. But our iPhones, our Androids, our Samsungs, they're so sophisticated now. You almost don't need to shop around for all the extras. You just need to do. So starting with your phone for recording and taking notes and doodling and planning and all the things, your phone can be your best tool. Outside of that, I have been using Canva for quite a while. So I've used that for social graphics. I use it for brochures. I use it for just extra things. But we have Ace Design Studio. And one of the things that I love about Ace Design Studio is you can take some of the templates that are in there and turn them into something entirely different. I think that's part of my Canva background, starting from scratch or deconstructing to reconstruct. And I've been able to do some things within Ace Design Studio. So somebody new who doesn't have Canva can start using Ace Design Studio and create all kinds of things in there. I also like GeoImager. So it's GeoImgr.com. And that is where you can tag photos. So think of your listing photos. Think of photos that you take around the area that you serve. So you share photos on social media, you share photos for open house promotions, for your own promotions. You can tag those photos. Yes, they're tagged when you take them on your iPhone or your Android, but you can add tags like your website, like your office address. You can add keywords that are part of search engine optimization. So GeoImager is a good program. There's a flip book, right? We have our quarterly insights that are prepared by Larry and they're shared with us, and we now can share them in Connect. That's in sort of a flip book experience. So there are some out there that if you create a brochure, think of a buyer guide, think of a seller guide, think of something specialized like a probate, like some basic, where do you get started? That's kind of what's called a lead magnet. You can have a guide and you can share that virtually, so you don't have to do print marketing like we used to. Nobody needs to go and print 12 copies of something and take it to an open house, right? So then another thing I like is, I've been a user now for a while of Jasper.ai, and there's this new rage on something called ChatGPT, but Jasper was the program that I was using to help write content, not necessarily be the final copy, because we all have to edit. We have to edit ourselves, and we should edit anything we're asking to write content for us as well, to make sure we consider certain things like fair housing and that it sounds like it's authentically coming from us. So inspiration, but not that final copy. So those are just a few that I like to use, and I use those for all different things like social media, YouTube, Google Business Profile, seller and buyer presentations. They can I like to just make my experience with my consumers, my contacts, my clients, to just be more robust than just a simple 15-minute meet and greet. I like to have little meat and potatoes with my my presentations and how I introduce myself out there. I'm not a secret agent. That's what I tell people. Do not be a secret agent, and all these tools are a part of that.
I am so shameless in my promotion now. It's getting pretty gross. I want to bring up a couple things, because you have such great information right then and there. We could almost end the podcast after that, that quick answer of those programs that you're using. But we have no excuse as agents right now, because you can basically YouTube anything, right? If you want to know how to digitally market yourself, if you want some tips on how to, like you had mentioned, put together like a digital, storybook or whatever you wanted to do to inform your clients about a particular topic, you had mentioned probate, right? You could always YouTube those things, right? So you could always start there. As far as Canva goes, my listeners can't see my sweatshirt right now, but I made my sweatshirt on Canva. You can actually make clothing there if you have a logo, you have a PNG file, or you have a JPEG, and you can just upload your logo and put that on a sweatshirt. That's what I'm wearing right now. So that's part of when I'm out there with the masses, part of marketing myself. And you mentioned ChatGPT, and you also mentioned Jasper. Those things are great. You and I were talking off camera about, I think Rajiv had said on a previous podcast we had him on that it'll get you to like the 5-yard line, right? But it's not going to get you over the goal line. You had mentioned it still has to sound like yourself. Sometimes there's some fair housing stuff that may come into play with ChatGPT that you have to be careful with, but it's definitely a great tool. And everything is digital now. So, we have to think about when we're marketing ourselves, how can we make it digital? And again, going back to some of the things that you do, some really great ideas there to start out with and really help your business. Do you want to add anything to that? I know I just talked a very long time.
No, but you touched on it. I touched on it. Don't be a secret agent. If you are going to be in this business and it is competitive and we have to make the business ourselves, it is not always served up to us. So to control what you do, how you are seen, you have the power. And all of these tools I'm talking about, they're good. They're not great. They're not you, but with you included and incorporated, when somebody sees your name on a sign, if somebody is given your name as a referral, what do they find when they look for you? That's where all these tools are good, but you make them great, and you make yourself not a secret agent.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest struggles that we have as agents, especially when we're starting out, and even some, veterans of the business, is that they're afraid to put themselves out there because of like, I don't want to look this way. Right. But I think over the years, we face so much rejection that we get a very thick skin over the years. And we're like, you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if I'm not for everybody, that's okay. I'm still going to put myself out there, because if I don't, like you said, it's a competition. People are going to look someplace else if they're not aware that you are in this business, and you can't sit back and wait for business to come to you. You have to proactively go and get it, right?
That's correct. Absolutely. And for myself, again, of medium age, I put social media as something I had to fight as opposition when I raised 5 kids. I got over that and realized the power that's there and the control that I can have. If I'm not doing it, there may be other things out there that don't really exemplify me. And with what I can do and how I want myself to be seen, that's where I really emphasize just get over it. You don't have to look perfect. How you want to present yourself in person is exactly how you should just present yourself on camera.
Exactly. It's all about being authentic. I do want to add something to what you said in terms of what I'm using now or I'm about to use. Because when I was out in the convention in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, there was on the floor where you have basically all new tech that's coming out. You see kind of what's out there in the marketplace right now. There is I'm going to give a plug to this. Now, I bought this. It is kind of like a camera stand. You had mentioned using your iPhone, right? So you can put this phone on kind of a tripod stand. It's called Pivo, and there's a bunch of apps you can download with it. You can do a million things with it, but one thing that I loved about it is I can hook up my phone to it, hook up the app, and I can sit like in a kitchen in one of my listings, and the using the app, the camera will actually follow me around as I'm kind of talking about the kitchen, right? It's almost like having a cameraman with you without having a cameraman. And it can do a bunch of different things, but I thought that was really cool. So that's a new piece of tech that I'm going to be incorporating into my business. And it's all about evolving and getting out there and just doing it, right? So that incorporates video, that incorporates tech, and I love that stuff. So I just wanted to mention that. It's called Pivo. So for anybody listening, check it out. All right. So I don't want to get too hung up on our first question because
I can talk.
Never going to get out of here. But I want to segue that into our new productivity platform, BHHS Connect, because you really can, and I'm going to, again, quote Rajiv here, hashtag everything you need for your business from Connect, right? But today, we're going to focus on Connect to market ourselves and market our business. So you had mentioned a couple different items from BHHS Connect already, but what are some of your best practice tips that you can share with our listeners when starting to market your business from BHHS Connect?
Okay, I am so excited for Connect. And, being part of the early adoption, it was hard to just keep it to myself. And as a trainer now, I just cannot wait to share all these things that I've explored, because we were kind of given this program, but it was like, okay, self-teach now. And in that, I didn't have this benefit of somebody showing me all these little things that I've learned along the way. And I cannot wait to share. And some of the benefits of this program is not just parking your contacts, not just staying in touch with your contacts, but it's the lead generation that has me excited. So we have the power to create landing pages where we can create something for, like, we'll offer something and in return we'll get contact information as a landing page. It could be open houses this weekend. You can share that topic, and then you could create the squeeze page that offers the open houses that are available this weekend. So you create the squeeze page, it goes with the landing page, and you can share that on Facebook. Now, if you share that on Facebook, which should be your business page, because Facebook likes you to use that intentionally, but then you can do a Facebook ad. So you can then take that landing page with the squeeze page, offer that up, and now broadcast that in a radius of your address of where your office is with your attached to your Facebook page. And now you can promote that to a wider audience. And that then, with any clicks, will drive traffic to your website, will drive traffic to you, and that automation piece can kick in with anything you set up, like a campaign, any further communication with somebody new to you and your website. Now, if you just take that's the squeeze page and landing page, which you could then turn into probate, which you could then turn into property list of the day, pick a zip code and a property list of the day and promote that. Then you can also have text codes, which I'm so excited about text codes, because I talked about that lead magnet, that free guide, right? Well, how are they going to get that guide? You can do a landing page, but you can also do a text code. You could do a text code to ask for the buyer guide, and that becomes a hashtag, which is then a category. That way you know and can track where that lead came from. So you're giving something, you're getting something, and now you can work with that. And then on top of that, my next favorite thing to bundle that together is if you have a property list of the day landing page with the squeeze page where they can maybe go 3 or 4 homes before they register, right? You can take that and you can now add that to a blog, okay? And with that blog, let's go one step deeper. You can add an Ace Design Studio graphic. So you got something visible. You've got a message. You've now got a link to that property list of the day. You've got content there that you can build out so easily. Maybe throw in a text code for something extra, right? Now you've got something very creative and you share it out on social media again, a Facebook ad, maybe even to your Google business profile. Because Google loves Google more than it loves Facebook. So in priority, it'll pop up higher. But now you've got that, when you have that blog post, what you're doing is you're telling Google and other search engines that you have an active website. So your foxandroach.com website is now looking like there's consistent attention. We talk about social media being consistent. Well, be consistent with your website, because if it's static and it's stale, nothing's happening, then these search engines, they want to match something that is live and active. So by simply creating a blog post, maybe make that once a week or twice a month, you are telling the Google and the Yelp that you are an active website. So they will match. They'll want to match you with somebody with keyword searches. Okay. So that's where I love taking these little extra ways of lead generation, and you can tie them all together in one simple way, like by way of saying that blog, and just keeping yourself current, active, and showing, these search engines that have the power, because that's where the search is happening and you want to be matched there. So that's one of the ways I've been working this new Connect program.
And it's a brilliant way to take advantage of things, because we can repurpose content to be in a million different places, right? And it's all about, like you said, it's keeping not only on top of mind of our customers, but also helping your SEO. It's helping you stay at the top of the page when someone's actually Googling you. And we're going to get a little bit more into Google here in a second. But I absolutely love everything that you can do with Connect. And what you just said, and I do want to make this known, what you just said may be a little intimidating to some people, right? Because you can do so many things. They're like, oh my God, how, like their head is spinning by what you can do with it. But if you just focus on a few things to start and then branch out from there, you get used to the program, and then you can use it to your advantage. Once you learn one thing, you can learn another thing, and then you can tie it all together like you were talking about. We talked about the squeeze pages. I love the squeeze pages and just what you can do with it when you sit there and think, like you had mentioned, promoting it on a Facebook or promoting it on an Instagram, or, funneling it back to certain things or certain topics that you want to cover. It's such a great tool, and that's just scratching the surface of what you can do from Connect. So, I don't want to make this into an infomercial about Connect, but Connect is awesome.
Powerful. It's powerful.
Yes, it's really, really cool. So, all right. So I want to move on. Since we're talking about best marketing tips and hosting an ultimate open house today, how can agents best maximize their open houses through the clever use of marketing? And so we just talked about a few things there, but let's talk specifically. Let's get into the open house side of things.
If you're going to make the commitment as this being a pillar of your business, why not really plan? Don't procrastinate. Prepare, right? If you create a timeline and all you have to do is just change the address and the date, but reuse that plan. You can optimize the experience you're going to have. I've been guilty in the past of saying, okay, I got a new listing. I'm going to do an open house, and it all comes together, sign on Monday, get it online, and then advertise the open house. And then I'm putting my box together as I'm walking out the door for the open house. You can do that, but is that optimal? Not necessarily. But if you want to optimize, give yourself the benefit of time. And with time, a little bit every day goes a long way. Okay, so if you want to plan properly, your location, you might want to strategize, where would signs be best visible? In the wintertime, we got to get them in the ground. We need a mallet in our toolbox, right? So maybe that hillside is a great vantage point in the winter, but it's all overgrown come the summer. So you want to strategize where visibility for signs, and then also permissions, right? So you need to know with the locality, the municipalities, where and what do you have permission to do in advance. You might not want to do something, right on the Saturday morning or Sunday morning before the open house if the permission is allowable to put signs out, let's say Friday, right? So plan, strategize the timeline of things you want to do all along the way. So planning and preparing and not procrastinating, I think, is the benefit here.
Yeah, and I'll just touch upon just from experience, right? Because we speak from experience with these things. I've gotten fined before for having directionals out, not knowing that the municipality that I'm having an open house in has strict rules about having directionals out, right? So a township near me, Whitpain Township, used to fine people $500 if they didn't have a permit for their directionals, right? So that's a huge thing. You don't want to give up $500 for hosting an open house, right? The same thing goes for I've had directionals in people's yards. Now I at the corner, not in their yard, but at the corner. I've knocked on their doors. They weren't home. I put a directional out thinking it's okay. I go to get that directional and the homeowner is outside yelling at me as I'm taking up the directional and trying to run away from this person, right? I remember these things. So, you learn from experience and make sure, like you said, that you have a plan going into these. Don't just do it willy-nilly because, not number one, the open house is going to suffer and you're not taking full advantage of what you could be taking advantage of it with it, right?
Right. I mean, you might get permission to put that yard sign in. Remember who you got permission from, because maybe the other person didn't know and they didn't talk. So you got to say, I got permission from Sally. Sally gave me permission.
Yeah. I was on the phone too, and this guy's yelling at me. I was trying to hold him off, say I'm on the phone, but he just kept screaming at me as I was walking away. So
can I give another idea on the planning?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things I would love to emphasize is there's no wrong day anymore. There's really no wrong day. The wrong day is not doing it, quite honestly. You can do it on a Thursday. You can do it on a Friday. You can take advantage of the open house at lunch hour. But with proper promotion, you're going to get people in. So, don't think of just boxing yourself in from the Sunday 2 to 4 and the 1 to 3. I know this agent out of California. His name's Andy C. He's under the Berkshire Hathaway umbrella, but franchise, and I can't think of exactly what he's like in the Bay Area of San Francisco. For being a top agent, for the volume and things and the years that he's been doing it and having a team, he himself will do 5 open houses a week. And there's no time that he won't do an open house because he understands how effective they can be. You don't necessarily want 30 people to come through. You want 5 quality people to come through. Real active buyers for that property, that neighborhood, that town that you can work with. So, it's not about planning the typical day and time. Think outside the box. And with planning ahead, looking at coming soon listings, you may want to ask in advance, okay, if you're doing a Sunday, could I do a Thursday evening? Think in terms of it's not just a simple weekend anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because last week I had a client reach out to me. There was a coming soon property during the week, and they actually kicked off their showings with an open house on a Friday night. It was Friday, I think 5 to 7. And so I met her there around 6 o'clock and we went through the property and there was, it wasn't packed, but there was plenty of people there. And I was like, this is actually a great idea. I love it. It doesn't have to be, a Saturday or a Sunday, like you mentioned. Brokers Opens, when once upon a time when we used to go to Brokers Opens all the time before the pandemic for our free lunches, usually we had them Wednesday afternoons, and there's no reason why. I know people are working, but I wouldn't be afraid, like you said, if you're going to host maybe multiple open houses, it's about getting quality and not necessarily quantity.
Right.
So, okay. So now we can segue into, since we're already starting with the open house talk here, I watched and I absolutely loved your ultimate open house recording. Such great information on there for any agent that's hosting an open house. And I want to give the agents a small taste of what you can find on that recording in ACE. And one thing I really loved was your idea to promote your open house, not just on Facebook or Instagram, which many agents do, but also on Google and YouTube, or doing a live video on YouTube showing off the house anytime that you're at the property, right? So if the open house is slow, you mentioned maybe you don't have a lot of people in there, take the time to actually do a live video from the open house. Can you talk a little bit about why it's beneficial to use all things Google and how the open house may tie into that?
Well, I'll start with this. And I have been one to promote Google Business Profile because of this message. Google loves Google more than it loves anything else. Google is, a top search engine. People say it like Kleenex and Pepsi, right? Like that, brand name specific. Google loves Google. And if Google is giving you a free opportunity to create a Google Business Profile, and if you take a look at your Google Business Profile, there are areas where you have the ability to introduce content. And one of the opportunities is by way of something similar as a post. Like if you're going to post an open house on Facebook and you're going to post an open house on Instagram, why not post that as an event in your Google Business Profile? Because with an event, it allows you to insert a day. It allows you to insert a time frame. And then that becomes an event that Google will put on Google Maps. So again, this is about planning. If you try and put that event in Google Business Profile 2 hours before, it's not going to have that visibility. So we're talking about optimizing this, and that is a great place to incorporate in all the things you're going to do to promote the open house and yourself is take advantage of the features within your Google Business Profile. If you're creating that graphic, that open house, or maybe you're getting that from the concierge, for a listing concierge, you got that bundle of things for you, take that image and go and immediately post it in your Google Business Profile and allow that to be visible within Google search, and it will be featured as an event in that location. So, again, Google loves Google. And then when I go further into the video moment, if you're going to do an open house and you're committing time to real estate ultimately, and traffic flows in and out. So, if you've got downtime, give yourself 5 things you can do in downtime. One of which is video. As consumers out there, and I'm a consumer of goods out there, we are visibly active, right? We like to see things more than we like to read things. So video is the way to go. And if you have permission, if it's not your listing, right? But if you have permission to do the open house and promote the open house and it's your listing or it's not your listing, do a video and do the YouTube shorts. YouTube shorts are vertical. They are the answer for YouTube to Reels in Instagram and TikToks and any other platform where you could do video, Snapchat and things. And Google owns YouTube. So YouTube Shorts, doing a vertical video of a very quick walkthrough. You are promoting the property and you are featuring yourself. So come up with a couple bullet points. If you have the bullet points ready to be able to talk about the home, you know the features of the home. Well, now put that in a video and speak to an audience that's not in front of you. And, it's kind of evergreen. It kind of stays out there a little bit longer than when your open house is done at 3:00. You might incite someone to be curious enough to want to learn more and get further information from you. And you'll provide that in the captions for that YouTube short. So, just wide range of opportunity there with Google, because Google loves Google and Google owns YouTube. So don't overlook that when you think of Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.
It's such great nuggets of information there. I mean, it really is. I mean, we're talking about how to reach the masses, how to best proceed by, just filming a short video, and how that can have the power to reach so many people out there in such a short period of time. And like you said, maximizing your Google presence is such a key to what we do now. And we do have to keep that top of mind when we're marketing ourselves, right? Or when we're doing an open house or anything in between. We have to think about Google, and like you said, they are a brand name. Everybody knows Google. Everybody Googles everything nowadays. We have to take advantage of that as realtors. All right. So I also absolutely love the idea about having an open house kit with you. And so I want to talk about a little bit about the open house kit that you bring. And in that open house kit, it could have general supplies, you could have branded items, you could have handouts, signs, items of value, etc. Do you want to touch a little bit about that, Peggy? Because I feel like we could have an entire podcast on just what you bring in your open house kit. So let's just touch upon a couple of those things and how you go about doing that.
Well, the full list, I think, is in that recording. But just like I touched on a mallet earlier, right? So why not have that mallet ready to go? I have two kits ready to go. One is my standard, which has paper towels, extra trash bag. You'd be surprised when you need a trash bag. An extra towel if it's raining, rubber bands, chargers that my kids can't find, because sometimes when I need a charger to run out the door, it's not there. But if it's in my open house toolkit, they don't go in there. So you've got just basic essentials that you would be surprised you might need. And you don't want to rummage through anybody else's belongings. Either the house is empty or it's their home. So if you have your things, you can't be caught off guard. Even air freshener. I mean, literally, the list is there. It's long. But one of the things I think would be interesting to talk about is music. Okay. Have a little portable speaker that works with your iTunes or your Spotify or your Pandora, wherever you've got music. There are music lists that big companies pay to have the concept of music that holds people, that gives them an experience. Think of Nordstrom. Nordstrom has a playlist that is very specific, and people worked really hard on that list. Why not play that list, right? Their Pottery Barn used to have CDs at their registers. They were like dinner party music, a collection of songs that just gets people in a mood, right? There's a Spotify list for that, the old dinner party music from Pottery Barn. I don't have to create that. I just have to find that, and I just have to play it. Kimpton Hotels, by the pool vibes, right? Now we're cruising into summer. Open houses might have that pool open. Why not have that Kimpton party music going? Create that experience when they walk in the door and they're moving on. Invite them to enjoy being in that home in a way that is just a little bit extra. And all you have to do is have that portable speaker ready to go along with that playlist.
You had mentioned the portable speaker in the open house or ultimate open house recording that you did that we got from the company. The little portable ones. And I chuckle because I listen to it every day. I have it on my desk hooked up to my phone. And my wife came in yesterday into my office, and I had the music actually really loud yesterday because I thought that I was the only one there at that point. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You having a party back here?" But it is so true that, you want to set that tone, because let's be honest, we've all been in open houses where you could hear a pin drop and it's so boring, and you want to make the experience enjoyable for everybody. And you had mentioned something that I thought was very creative as well, is listing like maybe little placards or little signs in the house that may explain things within the property, right? If the HVAC system is brand new, you might have a little placard that says on the door, like, HVAC new 2022, or, something to that effect. Do you want to talk a little bit about that part of what you do as well?
Well, sure. A lot of the questions that come up, even when we're just showing homes, are, is that swing set included? Right? How old is that water heater tank? And they're looking around to see if the plumber put the year on it, right? But why not have that answer ready to go? You may not be standing in front of that water heater, but you happen to know that it was installed in 2019 and it's not marked. Why not put a sign there? If you know information about the property that you don't want someone to miss because they didn't open the door, or you left it open but somebody closed it, but maybe behind that door is an unbelievable cedar closet, right? But with the door closed, they might miss something key, something of value, that if you just make a note and you hang it there, and you can make it fun and clever on Canva, or you can just take a Word document and cut it in half and have two different notes. But as long as you make sure you think of what the questions are going to be and you answer them, you are keeping them engaged in that home all the way through their tour. So is the shed included? How far does the property line go back? If you have an answer per the seller, then you can provide that so nothing goes unanswered. And that experience leaves them with a lot to think about. So it's just a simple method. Part of planning is to know that home better than anyone in that moment, and then share it and make it easy to get that answer, to keep that top of mind for them.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of having a plan, you talk about giving yourself, about a week plus to prepare for the open house, if you can do that and promote the open house. So that way you can do everything from, you had mentioned in your recording about having an active pipe mailer using Cole Realty Resource to go out before your open house, or make custom QR codes for the open house. Just great ideas. Can you touch upon why it's so important to have your open house planned out well in advance?
Well, if you know you're going to make this a pillar of your business, and you know you're going to make a commitment to do 2 a month, let's say, why not give yourself the benefit of time to create a timeline to not only maximize the promotion, but also get to know the home, get to know the neighbors of the home, because they say that 10 to the right, 10 to the left, and 10 across the street, excuse me, are the most curious. Okay. And when I say most curious, you want to engage them, you want to invite them, but you also want them to be aware of your open house. You want eyes on your open house, because one of the things I talk about is safety as well. So we're planning our promotion, we're planning our information on get ready for this home and preparation, but plan your safety as well. So you're inviting the curious neighbors, and you are letting them know that there's going to be action there. So they'll want to see, okay, if they're getting this much, maybe that much activity, maybe if we decide to sell our home, we're going to get that much activity too. Maybe they'll be curious about how fast it goes off market. But that curiosity can be to your advantage when it comes to safety as well. So, I forget where we were going with that, because I know I could just keep talking.
We talked a little bit about the active pipe with the Cole Realty Resource. I think that's an important one to mention. I thought that was a great idea. So can you talk a little bit about that one too?
Well, yeah. So Cole Realty Resource is a way for us to get information about that neighborhood. So if you want to promote that listing, a lot of people, when I say 10 to the right, 10 to the left, but just even in that neighborhood, if people love living in that neighborhood, they may know somebody who wants to be their neighbor. So getting a list, whether that list consists of an address and with proper planning, snail mail's made a comeback. People are going to their mailbox and re-engaging with what's in there. So you need time for that snail mail to work. They don't unsubscribe as easily to snail mail like they can an email. So Cole Realty can provide some email, it can provide a phone number, and it can provide, the address. So with those options and with time, you have the ability to reach people where they can be met, in other words. So time for the regular mail, and also in an email and maybe a phone call, just, letting them know that they're welcome to tour. If they're curious, if they have a friend, they may not see the marketing. Maybe they're not on the internet because they're overwhelmed by the news. For whatever reason, they're tuning it out. Maybe your phone call, maybe your email might be inspiring them to want to learn more about that home for sale.
And this goes into your planning, right? Because if you have the time to circle prospect, right, and do the houses around the open house with Cole Realty Resource and taking that time to actually, like you said, either call, email, snail mail, whatever you're going to do, you have that information at your fingertips now. Take advantage of it, right? Because it's only going to help your cause. And if people see how professional and how detailed you work, it could lead to things down the line. That person that lives across the street may not, be interested in the open house, but they may be interested in how you approach the open house, right? And they remember that you were the professional, and they're going to call you in the future when they're ready to list your home or list their home. Sorry. I want to, before we get out of here, you had mentioned something that I think is just a genius move. And when you think it through, you're like, wow, why didn't I think of that? And that is to potentially have a rental open house, which I absolutely love. So can you talk about the potential advantages of having a rental open house and why you do that?
Well, ultimately, it's about serving your client. And I'm going to share two experiences where I decided to do that, because it wasn't that I was looking for renters for clients necessarily. I was out to serve my client at the time, whether they were a buyer, whether they were a seller or they were a landlord, whatever the position that they chose at that moment, I wanted to make sure that I could serve them. If I serve them with a tenant, then I have them down the road when the tenant leases up, to have them to redo that relationship either as a listing for rental or a listing for sale. So here are two examples of where I decided to do that to support what they wanted to do at this point, was just rent and not sell. I did an open house in Royersford for someone who had bought new construction in the pandemic, and they were here working. And it just took so much longer with all of the materials and COVID and everything that pushed it out to when they could move in. They finally move in and they get relocated to Texas. They did not want to sell. They would sell if they had to, but they wanted an opportunity to try renting, knowing that they could be relocated back into the area. So I said, sure, let's give it a try for 2 weeks and see what happens. So I decided, as part of my marketing for that rental, because we were either going to do it or we weren't. So I was going to maximize my time doing it by having an open house for it. And actually, when I put the open house in the MLS, I put it in on a weekend where we had an extravaganza promotion, and it was promoted. And in the promotion that was done that way, but also the promotion that I did, and I did it for 2 days. And one day I had 5 groups come through, one of which was the person who ended up putting the application in and is the tenant there now. The second was an investor. And that investor stopped in because he wanted to explore that neighborhood for future rental possibilities. He wanted to see who would be coming in the door, to see, like, as far as activity. He wanted to see, is this desirable? Like, how many people were going to come by on a nice day and notice the neighborhood amenities, the location. And he didn't introduce himself to me at first. He just toured around. I asked him to sign in. He didn't sign in right away. He wanted to explore. So at the end, when he did sign in and we talked, I learned what his intentions were. And his intentions were to consider that neighborhood for investments. Now, at the end of the day, he did not choose that neighborhood. We have put in offers on a couple of other places as an investor. He's not going overboard on offers right now, but he does want, it comes to dollars and cents and numbers. But I am working with him now and would never have been introduced to him had he not stopped in, had I not promoted it, had I not taken the time. And ultimately, I got it rented for him and they're very happy. So that's one experience. Another experience was with another client. They bought a really nice home in like the Radnor Hunt area, and they had a great old home. I mean, character from the 1700s. Like it's built like nothing is built today, right? But having said that, it takes a certain person who wants to rent a home with that much character. And, he just didn't want to part with it. He did so many improvements to it, but ultimately it wasn't the forever house, but he had a special place in his heart for it. So he asked me if I would try renting it out first. And I said, sure, why not? Not the best location because it was right on a busy road. So I had a couple factors against it, as far as location for too busy of a road and also an older home. And I decided to promote it. I promoted it out with Google Ads. And it ended up on Waze. The ad was on Waze because, I ask people when they come in the open house, how'd you find it? Just curious, because I'd like a little bit of a metric to know where did I best get the exposure. So he found it on Waze. This person was relocated up from Washington, D.C., old location, old homes there as well, and was working at a hospital in the city. Happened to have been out of the city, meeting up with someone, happened to have on his Waze directional, saw that there was this open house. He at a stoplight clicked on it and saw that it was an old home. He was in an old home in DC. So he popped in and of course he ended up renting it. He's still there now 4 years later.
It's such a great story and it's so true. And for you newer agents out there, this is a perfect opportunity because as newer agents, a lot of times we do start on the rental side, right? We may pick up this client, that client for rentals. Number one, it's an opportunity to potentially pick up some renters. And oh, by the way, those renters turn into buyers down the line. Exactly. And number two, you don't know who's going to pop in there. Like you had mentioned, the investor. I'm thinking investors would maybe potentially pop into these things pretty frequently just to check the place out and see what, like you had said, what kind of traction they're getting there, and potentially pick them up as clients as well. So Peggy, I have to say it has been a real pleasure having you on. Such great information there. And I want to make sure before we get out of here that people can find that ultimate open house recording on ACE. So can you just tell people where they can find that?
So in the education website, that new campus, if you type in the search bar, open house or ultimate, just even the word ultimate open house, you will then be able to pop up the screen where it's the video and you can watch the whole thing. I think I went the entire hour and it's just chock full of ideas start to finish.
It was awesome. And thank you so much for everything today. You're giving me ideas that I need to incorporate in my business, especially if I'm hosting an open house. You definitely gave me some food for thought today. So thank you for that. And I'm sure that I'll see you on the next educational team meeting and hopefully in person very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you gave me a tip of the day, Pivo. I'm going to go look that up. Always be.
It's good. It's good. You're going to like it. I guarantee it. So thank you so much, Peggy.
You're welcome.
That was the interview for this week's episode. Here are a few takeaways that I had from my conversation with Peggy. Number one, Peggy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to technology, how to employ that into your business in a smart and functional way. But I would say this to you, just pick one or two things to start, and you can keep going back again, like I had mentioned, back to this episode. Pick out an item or two, an idea or two, employ them in your business. It's just going to help get you to that next level. Start with something small that you can master from this episode and take it from there. Number two, so much success that we find in real estate as agents is done by just doing it. Sometimes we get in our own heads. We think that we can't learn something new. Something's too complicated. It takes too much time. Never limit yourself into that negative way of thinking. You can do it if you just put in the time and effort. Lastly, when it comes to hosting the ultimate open house, just go back and listen to everything that Peggy had to say, because that was completely awesome. And in order to host the ultimate open house, make sure that you have a plan of attack and you give yourself the time to plan out and to think about how you want to approach the open house. Well, that's it for this week's episode. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest, and as always, if you want me to cover something we haven't touched upon yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the podcast or left us a review yet, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.